Welcome to Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake. Today, we're going to talk about Aerodrome and what's a likely path for this asset that I first covered here on this channel. I had the first Aerodrome video. Check that out for yourself. I'll link it at the end of the video. Just a reminder, nothing here is financial advice. Always do your own research and be sure to follow me in my free Telegram group, the Snake Pit, and also this channel as well. This is Aerodrome on the daily time frame, and you can see that it has been chopping around in this red zone that I drew a while ago. It first tried to get into the red zone on April 30th, bounced off of it again on May 14th, finally entered into it in a more meaningful way on June 24th, got beneath it into this support region, and had a pretty significant bottom on around July 4th, and then came right out of that above the red zone, and now it's looking like it's probably going to take a dip back into it again. It's around 90 cents right now, still up over 100% from the dip into this support region down here, which matches a lot of the pricing from March of this year. So, Aerodrome is still a fairly new asset, and experiencing a drawdown like the one that it did, if we want to measure it from top to bottom, that is approximately an 83% drop, is not at all unusual for this stage of the market. So the question is, an Aerodrome did put in a technical lower high here and another lower high, which is a bit bearish despite this bullish action. So, my general expectation is it probably will enter back into this red zone, but let's take a look at some other technicals. So I want to open up the Gunnar EMA on the daily, and we can see that we did have a bullish cross, but that is starting to close in, which is a little bit concerning. And the Gaussian channel right now, it looks like we're hitting resistance at the top of the channel. Now, the good news is it did flip. Now, again, this is a daily Gaussian, not a weekly Gaussian. It did flip the concave up and kind of widened out, which is generally a good thing when you're looking for a trend reversal. But, this is not a guarantee that, of course, that the downtrend is over. In fact, I'd be surprised if it is over. I think there's still more of a downtrend left. I am a little bit curious, though, about this this low right here. So if we pull up the Snabel RSI, we can see that we did hit some pretty low levels. In fact, let me turn this off to the arrow. We did get all the way down to a level of around 4 or 5 on the daily Snabel RSI, then had a double top on July 15th and 18th, and now we're just kind of hovering around in the middle. So the problem with an asset like Aerodrome that hasn't been around for very long is we're going to be having some pretty limited data if we do go to a weekly time frame. Now, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't look at a weekly time frame, but because weekly is a lot more informative than daily. Let's see what we can pull up. We could always try the 5-day as well. Really not a lot on the weekly. As you can see, this is kind of the issue. 5-day doesn't look much better. We can look at it. Okay, we can analyze a 5-day. I think maybe more meaningfully than the weekly. And you can see that we have a pretty fat Gaussian channel. There's your July 4th bounce right at the median line or just slightly above it of the weekly Gaussian channel. We had a bearish cross, which looks like it is trying to flip bullish, hasn't done so quite yet. And we can see that the Snabel RSI did, in fact, hit a pretty significant low on July 4th. I actually made an alert in my Telegram channel. This is why you want to sign up for it. On July 4th, I think it was like the evening of July 4th as this was happening, and I put out a buy alert for Aero at that level. So anybody who bought is doing considerably better now than before, or doing pretty well. So we did have quite a substantial bounce. You can see that the RSI median line is trending up. Like I said, it's going to be difficult to get some of the data, and some of the things that I look at on a 5-day time frame just aren't going to be available because of such limited data. So we may have to return to the daily to do a further analysis. So let's go do that. Let's return to the daily time frame and see what some of the other indicators are saying. This, of course, will spread out quite a bit. So on the daily, you would anticipate we could get back down below 20. Not hard to do on the weekly or 5-day. It's a little harder to get down to these levels. Doesn't happen quite as often. So let's take a look at some simple indicators. Let's look at the MACD. You can see the MACD for Aero is starting to print some light green, and it could flip red pretty soon. You can see the signal line and the 26 minus 12 day EMA are starting to meet together. And so we anticipate that, like I said, putting in these lower highs is a bearish thing. Probably got some more chopping to do in the red zone. Let's look at some other data. Let's look at the average sentiment oscillator for Aerodrome and see kind of what's going on there. So if I pull that up, you can see that we did have a nice bullish rally for Aero from July 4th all the way to July 21st, but we are starting to close in again on a potential bearish flip. So it's flat right now. Odds are this will turn bearish and you'll get some more red. So that is kind of a sign. If you are sidelined with Aero and you're looking to enter in again, I think you'll have another chance. I don't know that you'll get a lower price. It is possible we'll see a double bottom. I would get concerned if we went beneath this, though. This is some pretty critical support right at the 40 cent, roughly 40 cent level. So if I draw a horizontal line here, you know, that level is quite significant. So roughly 40 cents. That's one of your last zones of horizontal support. So it is important that we hold that level, and I think we will. I'm kind of thinking double bottom at worst, a higher low is probably more likely on a future drop. One other thing, let's look at the ADX and DI, which is a similar metric to the average sentiment oscillator, which we can kind of flip off right now. So you can see that with the average sentiment oscillator, we had quite a bit of red, pretty strong trend. That's what the white line is. And then that flipped around and we're seeing just right now kind of choppiness, right? So the white line is getting near some historically low levels that we haven't seen since June, indicating some degree of consolidation is likely here. So like I said, I think we will put in most likely a higher low. And I think we'll start to see a really major change in structure. So if you missed out on that 40 cent buy and you're still looking to get in, what levels could you look at? Well, I think maybe around 60 cents, 60 to 70 cents might be a really good accumulation zone. We could even come as low as 50, and we could put in a double bottom. We could go like to 42, 43 cents. I think 60 cents is probably more likely, but I have no way of predicting that. I'm just seeing the trend is starting to slow down. So I'm not expecting a volatile drop, kind of like what we had here when we had a much more active trend. This just seems to be in an accumulation phase at the moment. That's what is indicative. If we go to the beam indicator, we can see that Aero right now is in extreme undervaluation. And this is at a price level of 90 cents. So you can only imagine that once this thing gets going again, these levels that used to be, if we go back to last time we were at 90 cents, like, let's see, where were we? Like, here in March, we were kind of at getting close to overvaluation. All this time-based capitulation has now led us into extreme undervaluation, meaning that even DCAing Aerodrome at these levels at 90 cents, anything between like 40 cents and $1, should work out very, very well if the bull market plays out into most of 2025, which I think that it very likely will. Let's see if there's some other things we could look at. Average true range probably is a bit low, yes. And that's just indicative of the volatility just kind of not being there at the moment. And I think this is just, again, indicative of an accumulation range. You know, I think the wave trend might, maybe we'll look at the Trix bubble. I love the Trix bubble. It's one of my favorite indicators. You can see we did have a bearish cross of the 5-day. Again, indicating, and we're just barely hovering above the zero line. We're probably going to take a trip back down, I think, to a higher low around 60 cents, 50, 60 cents, somewhere in there relatively soon. Not saying we can't bounce out of this too. I mean, we certainly could. That is a possibility. I'm just not seeing it at the moment happening. The wave trend was another thing I wanted to look at. I used to look at this 3D one, but that one is not very easy to read. So wave trend has not been at these really, really high levels in quite some time. We did take a little peek up there on July 20th after we put in 3 green dots. I did notice this happening, and that's when I called out a buy alert for Aerodrome because I thought that that was a really good value at that time. I think we'll see this dip down again. The signal line currently is green and flat, but I anticipate this probably to turn red again in the not too distant future. Let's see if there's any other indicators that I would find useful for analyzing this at the moment. Maybe some of the whole moving averages might be good to look at to kind of get an idea to support some of my theses around 50 to 60 cents instead of just, you know, looking at it and saying that. So let's turn off the Gaussian channel. I'm going to put on some of my whole moving averages. I don't think we have enough history for a 200. Yeah, we don't. But we certainly do for a 50 and a 100, and those are good enough. So if we look at the 50-day and the 100-day, we are currently just hugging the 50-day. We had a golden cross on July 16th of the 50 and 100, and golden crosses with whole moving averages are actually quite significant. I really like to look at the 50 and 100 because those are just really good time frames for spotting big moves. And that's right around the time that we had this like little parabolic rally that seems to kind of be tapering off into some kind of distribution phase, I think, for another leg down and potentially another death cross, or maybe a fake out death cross that doesn't quite achieve that. The 100-day, I think, is a pretty significant area. You can see we went way down here. If I had to guess, that might have been like we don't have 200 days of data, so I can't really make that up. But if we did have like a 200-day, maybe it would be down here. There's the thing with like charts with so little data, it's hard to do a really detailed analysis because you just are working with hardly anything. But I do think around, that the 100-day is trending up while the 50-day is trending up, but it's concave down. So I think like around 67 cents could be a little bit of a stopping point. I'm really looking in this zone right in here, somewhere around 60 cents for a higher low. I want to see Aero print a higher low. A double bottom would be okay too, as long as maybe it's slightly higher than the previous one. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow, but I think, when rate cuts happen, you could see Aero travel downwards, into that region or even lower could happen. So yeah, just with the whole moving averages, that's kind of telling me that bull bear power trend, you're not going to get a lot of great data with, again, such a limited data set. But we can see that I think the majority of the bearishness is over for Aero, and that if we do slip back down into some bearishness, I don't think this mountain will be quite as deep as it was before. I think we've cleared out most of the selling pressure. If we look at the Wyckoff volume distribution, you can see that sellers selling volume actually is in control right now, but I mean the amount of selling happening just isn't really that impressive compared to over here in July and also in late April. So I think you may see some more selling, and that could happen, but again, I don't expect this to be as dramatic of a drop as what we got heading into the July 4th. Very likely macro bottom for this, potentially for this cycle. Let's see, is there anything else I could look at? Maybe the Keltner channels, which are kind of like Bollinger Bands, but they're a little bit more precise than Bollinger Bands. I like to look at both, of course. So for the Keltner channels, we can see that we actually dipped out of the Keltner channel. I did notice that on July 4th, and that was a kind of a buy signal. And then we are now kind of back to the top of the channel, which is kind of rolling around. I think the channel may go down again. Again, I don't think it'll be as low as before, but it could certainly go down. So that is the Keltner channel, which to me is a really great thing to use. We can look at the all chart patterns. All chart patterns, we saw bearish pennant that has already played out. So nothing much to see there. If we look at volume, it's kind of like what we saw with the Wyckoff volume, nothing to see there, contracting volume. Everything looks pretty healthy, honestly. Parabolic SAR on the daily, you can see we have the downtrend SAR. We would need to take out 98 cents to flip that bullish. I don't think that is likely to happen until we get back down into this red zone, and then I think we could see maybe another move higher. And we might dip down in this red zone. It could happen. It could happen in the next week, and then we could come back up again, and then we could dip down again, and just keep forming higher lows. So keep an eye out for this one. I mean, I think the chart looks very healthy. Let's look at the Mansfield RSI and compare it against Bitcoin and see what the relative strength against Bitcoin looks like. There's not enough data to really draw one on the daily, so we're going to have to take this down. We could certainly try the 12-hour. Yep, 12-hour worked. So we are in the green, meaning that we are keeping pace with Bitcoin or slightly outperforming it. So that's exactly what you want to see. These red periods are perfectly normal, nothing to worry about. If we see a little more red, again, nothing to worry about. This asset is very, very strong, and I think this will be one of the big players next cycle as well, if it can maintain its health in the base ecosystem and really bring on adoption, which it so far, I believe, has been doing quite well. I do not own any Aerodrome, and I get mocked for that because I discovered Aero. Actually, somebody discovered it and pointed it out to me. But yeah, around 7-8 cents, somewhere in here. I did a video on it around there. And yes, I've been mocked for making a lot of very good calls on Aero and yet not having any. So the reason why I don't hold any Aero is, maybe one you could criticize me for, but it's the inflation. But you know what? Aerodrome's inflation schedule is actually very thoughtful and not really something to get overly concerned about right now. So in fact, they have people locking up Aero for many years. So I think I kind of like made too big of a deal of it. And it was just one of those things I was never able to get over, that I had the opportunity to buy Aero at like 7 cents, 8 cents. I thought about buying it at 40 cents and I ended up buying something else. So yeah, you can mock me for it if you want, but I just never did. So what I think is likely to happen here is we're probably entering into some compression triangle of sorts where, we might put in maybe another, it's possible we just kind of, chop around here, put in another, here, I'll draw this path out. Let's see. I'll do path. This ignore the time frame on this, but I think we are heading down potentially to 60 cents. I think we might come back up. Maybe we'll get to around here, maybe fake out above it, and we could come down again. Again, ignore the time frame on this because I would expect this to play out over a much larger time frame than what it's down here. Don't pay attention to that. But something along these lines where we have just some more chop and then eventually we break out over $1, probably retest it. You're going to need time for accumulation. And so there'll be some kind of triangle you could potentially draw that basically Aero is starting to compress into with declining volume and price stability. And you see this play out a lot with very bullish projects like this one. So I think that just about covers it for Aerodrome. In conclusion, I think Aerodrome is a great buy, fantastic asset to hold in your portfolio. I do regret not buying it at 7 to 8 cents when I had the opportunity to do so. I did a video on it because of my stubbornness about inflation. I really don't like holding inflationary projects on principle, and I think that one probably cost me dearly, and I've been very stubborn about getting back into it. Just because I just went and found something else, that I got into very early because I don't know. I think it's just my stubbornness. But don't let that stop you. I think Aero is a solid asset, and I would absolutely consider picking some up again at some point in the future. It just has to be the right time and feel right for me, but don't let that stop you. So that's not financial advice. If you want more information about Aero, or you want to join people who've been with me since the beginning, some of the very first Aero buyers, join my free Telegram group. We've got Aero buyers in there. I do Aero updates and pretty regularly. So, and I'll put my original Aero video up that you can see. This was like the very first video ever done on Aerodrome, and something I'll always be known for is not buying it. Foolish decision, like I said. But, we all have to live with our decisions. You can't know what you don't know at the time. So if you like the content, give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe. Again, join my Telegram, the Snake Pit, links in the video description below. If you want to buy some Aerodrome, there's many ways you can do it. So you can check out, I may have some links to that also. And Aero is the original AMM on base. If you want an overview of it, just watch my first video. I did a very thorough overview of Aerodrome. And yeah, that's about all I can think of for now. So let me know what you think. Did you buy Aerodrome? And when did you buy it? What price did you get it at? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And do you think I'm a fool for not buying it at 7 cents? Yeah, no harm in telling me what you think. All right, well, that's about it for now, and I will see you next time. This is Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake. Enjoy.